The noon hour is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's make some donuts. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Oh, man. Good Bavarian cream. A good...
That's already on your mind?
A good blueberry donut. A good Boston cream pie. I'm a sucker for a little custard in my, a stuffed donut.
Oh, I love a good custard. I love the custard more than the Bavarian cream.
Yeah.
I'll take like a vanilla or a banana custard inside of a donut before that.
All right, so the perfect donut for you.
Oh, man.
Christian, you're up next, so be thinking.
It's still the apple fritter.
Really?
Yep.
See, you and my wife is a huge apple fritter fan, and I'm just like...
still the apple fritter.
I just can't, I don't know, man. To me, it's probably that blueberry donut at that place that Tony Brown... Officer Brown brings us donuts. It's still my favorite donut on the planet. That's
a really good donut.
Next up would be a Boston cream donut.
It's something about the apple fritter. It's throwing it in the microwave for just about 8 seconds, taking that thing out and eating it with chocolate milk. And in that moment where I take a big bite and I chew up kind of that creamy, and then on the outside, kind of the outside edge, a little bit crunchy with that apple flavoring. And then I take a big chug of the chocolate milk and wash it all down, and it hits all the taste buds.
Yeah.
And that chocolate milk and that dough hits the belly, and it feels heavy and filling. And everything's great until I polish off that last bite and that last swig of chocolate milk. And then without doubt, without fail, 8 to 10 minutes after, I feel like absolute trash.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I feel like absolute death. But there's this satisfaction it's the same satisfaction I get with the buttered popcorn and chugging it back with a nice ice cold Coke.
Yeah.
Or whatever I'm feeling in the moment, which could be a Barks root beer. It could be an ice cold crisp Sprite. It might be a fountain drink of Mountain Dew, but something that I'm just drawing back with that buttered popcorn, and then you just feel like crap afterwards. But it's so good in the moment.
Oh, so good. So good.
Are you going to be able to get in these barbecue competitions and do okay?
Oh, yeah.
And not have like major issues? Because you're sitting around the greatest food in the world.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm fine. Don't worry about me, man. I'm good.
When's our next competition?
June 21st, I want to say. Yeah.
Let's get you ready.
Oh, dude, I'm beyond fired up.
Let's get you ready for the ball. What else is new?
Not a lot. Got ready for a 3-day weekend. I got my spare ribs all locked and loaded. Brody's got my youngest has got his birthday tomorrow. He's turning 13 tomorrow. My youngest is 13 years old. I now officially am all teenager or above.
Preteens.
Yeah. And so he's got a big party planned. He wants Philly cheesesteaks on the flat top, so I'll have that going. I got all kinds of good stuff ready to go. Man, we're going to do it up right for him.
I've got graduation and baseball games tonight.
Championship tonight, right?
My two nephews are graduating. Shout out to Kenny and Loke. Love you both.
Yeah.
And then I'm off to the state championship baseball game. Yeah, me. High school baseball.
Where's it at?
UVU. That really nice baseball field that they put in right off the freeway.
Yeah, that they did that right there. Oh, that's a good-looking venue.
Lehigh has willed their way to the state finals, which is a best of three, Scotty, in baseball. Did you know that?
Will they play them all like back-to-back?
Friday, Saturday, Monday, I think.
Oh, okay.
If there's a game 3, I think they push it to Monday.
Okay.
But Friday and Saturday. So if they win back-to-back games, then
it's over.
They hoist the trophy and throw on the rings, which, by the way, because Rock already has 2 state championship rings with Lehigh football.
Yeah.
The rings that those guys divvy
out. It's crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Did you ever get anything?
No. Nothing even remotely like that. Even my my nephew, who played at Declo in the middle of nowhere, population 300, they won a state championship. And he showed me that ring, and it was...
He got a ring.
He got a ring, and it was bigger and gaudier than what I got from Utah State when Utah State won a Mountain West Conference championship.
No way.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'd look at Rock's rings. I'm like, good grief, these high school championship rings. Look, they might be as fake can be.
Oh, they are 100% fake, but that's all right.
They might just be melting down fence posts.
Yeah, but they look nice.
And minting them into these crazy rings. But they do look nice.
Yep.
I know every ring that Rock has is much better looking than my Cotton Bowl championship.
Yeah.
Much better looking than my 2 conference championship rings. And it at least exists that I don't have a ring for my state championship in wrestling, which is still my most coveted championship that I've got.
Really? Did they just not hand it out, or you just didn't decide to get one?
They didn't hand it out. Wasn't even an option. You know what I got? I got a stupid medal that I lost.
Oh, you lost it?
So all I got now is memories.
Yeah, but what great memories.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
You remember the name of the guy you beat?
I do. Trent Woodward from, oh boy, is it Bear River? Bear Lake?
Yeah, Bear Lake's in Idaho. Bear River's in Tremont.
Bear Lake.
Yeah.
And it was great, man. It was great. And I used that same move once to save a man.
Save a man's life, yeah that's right. This is true, Christian. All right, Christian, perfect donut for you. Ready to go.
Man, I've got a soft spot for like the old-fashioned like sour cream donuts.
You like the old-fashions, huh?
I like those ones. I also like a nice soft one with like just sugar on the outside.
Just a sugar coating?
Yeah. With like a glass of milk.
The sour cream old-fashioned, I'll get on board with you on that. Smith's sells a pack of like a dozen of those.
Yeah.
That are heavy. Just they're like
put you to sleep.
They will, and they make me feel as sick as a fritter. But I do love it. How about you? So Scotty, yours is from Officer.
Yeah, Tony Brown's
place.
Yep. 100% love that one.
Wow. Now that we've got everybody thinking about donuts.
Well, everybody knows where the studio's at, so bring them on by.
Yeah, we'd love it.
I'm not hating on that.
It's a Friday. Let's go. You made it to the weekend. Everybody's ready to have some fun. Yeah. Extended 3-day weekend.
Let's have some fun today.
Well, Twitter people aren't ready to have some fun. Jeez.
What's everybody cranky about?
So I sent out a poll question it was 3 poll questions. The Jazz 10th pick, the Jazz 29th pick, and the Jazz 32nd pick.
Yeah.
And said, if Bronny James is available, would you take him?
At 29.
32, 29, 10. I gave all 3 options.
Yeah.
3 different poll questions. And people are like, 10, what? Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind?
You don't have to choose that option.
That's what I said. It's like, I'm just putting out a poll question. And the reason I even put out the poll question, have you seen where the Vegas money is going for the number 1 overall pick? It's going to Bronny James.
The number 1 overall pick?
Yes. Futures. Now, look, futures is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But people think that there is a chance that somebody's going to try to make a real push at LeBron or whatever might come with Bronny to make a push and do it.
To try to get LeBron with him?
Or whatever, or a trade or whatever it is to push. But I was just reading an article this morning that said Vegas is taking in, it was like 25 or 30% of the money on Bronny James.
That's ridiculous.
And I don't even know what the odds are or were.
Yeah, no. I mean, if he's there at 29, I think he maybe consider it just because, who knows? Maybe something comes along with it. But I don't, obviously, I don't touch him at 10. Are
you interested in the percentages?
Sure.
So over 1,000 votes came in. If Bronny was available at 10, would you want to select him or want to see the Jazz select him? 92% of the 1,000 said no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm surprised anybody said yes to that.
Yeah, 7.9% said yes.
All right. Now, those people, they should be yelled at.
Okay. If Bronny James was available at 29, would you want to see the Jazz select him? 700 votes so far. 700 votes. 75% said no.
Okay.
25% said yes.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. And then if Bronny James was available at 32, would you want to see the Jazz take him? 600 votes in on that one. 62% saying no. 37% saying yes.
All right.
So still no at 32.
I will say yes. I would vote yes at 32.
Okay, 29.
I might even vote yes on 29 because you know what? Your chances of getting a dynamic, even role player at 29 or 32 is pretty slim. But you know what you do get? You get exposure out the wazoo, man. Every game, every time he checks into that game, everybody's paying attention to the Jazz.
At least for the first.
You get name recognition.
Month.
You get, and if he plays relatively well, and I'm talking like earns 10 to 15 minutes, you will get primetime games. You'll get TV packages based on that because he's LeBron's kid. Now, granted, you're right. That will leave fairly quickly. I mean, that will go away pretty quick if he's a non-entity.
Which he will be.
Which he probably will be. But
high likelihood.
But you'll get some run out of it, and it'll be good for Larry Markkinen to get his face out there. It'll be good for Will Hardy. It'll be good for the Jazz, Ryan Smith, the organization, the city, what they're building here. The efforts to build the arena and rebuild the arena and the downtown stuff and the hockey. Like, all that becomes a storyline because everybody's going to pay attention to the Jazz because they want to see what Bronny James is up to. That is a unintended acquisition that you can't really put a value on. That would be worth more than some jabroni that you took from Jacksonville State at 32 who will have the same career as Bronny James. So why not get the extra publicity? Why not get the extra love? Why not get the extra attention? And who knows? I mean, I know. LeBron ain't coming. But
who knows?
Who knows? Look, if Bronny plays well, then LeBron's like, you know what? I want one more year with my guy.
I honestly think anything's possible with that family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I do know that this is what is impossible, and that is the Jazz drafting Bronny and LeBron doing anything with Salt Lake City, making any decision to come to Utah. What LeBron would do is force somebody's hand to get Bronny out of Utah in some type of trade to bring him wherever he is. Now, I could see LeBron, and this is why I'm sure that some of the money's going to the futures. I could see LeBron going to Atlanta.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I could see LeBron going to Atlanta, but I could also see Atlanta fans disowning that entire organization if they took Bronny.
As they should.
With the number 1 overall pick. Which is, I know it's a bonkers conversation. I'm just saying that there's futures out there and there's people that are seeing it as an interest. All based off of the name. What if Michael Jordan would have had a son that was undersized that would have been playing at a time where Michael Jordan was still averaging, what is LeBron now, 26, 8, and 7?
Something like that, yeah.
So...
Remember Michael Jordan's kid who had the weird goggles? He couldn't play a lick. Tried real hard.
I don't remember that at all, actually. He had a kid that...
Yeah, that played basketball. He played college ball.
Like a Thurl Bailey goggle or like a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goggle? Or
if I remember right, yeah. It was weird. Jeffrey
Jordan?
Yeah, let's see here.
No, I don't remember him at all. I know Michael had many kids. I didn't know he had one that was trying to make a name in football or in basketball.
Yeah, he wore those. It actually looked like the old school Horace Grant goggles.
Yeah, the Horace Grant goggle. That's not the Bandit goggle. Those aren't as terrible.
No. Oh yeah, it's Marcus Jordan. Yep, that's right.
People just across the board, and the responses on the poll questions. People across the board don't want to have anything to do with him. The only reason I would be okay with it, and I don't think I'd be okay with it in the first round, but maybe that 32 pick, is if it's some type of commodity.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's it.
Because he's not a player. This is because I did watch enough with him at USC, and you see the highlights and you hear all the different takes. I just can't see him translating or transitioning to the NBA and doing anything.
Crazy undersized.
Way undersized.
Yeah.
And there's really no discernible skill that sets him far enough apart from a college athlete to be an NBA player.
Yeah.
He's not overly significant in ball handling. He's not insanely agile, able to move or to get a one-on-one and to create off a one-on-one that I've ever seen. He's not a Kyrie Irving.
No.
So I don't think he's ever going to be.
You think LeBron looks at his wife and like, couldn't you have helped out a little bit here?
Maybe.
Come on. I'm doing my part here.
Have you already seen the hype kick up about son number 2?
No.
Yeah, there's another.
Is he supposed to be good?
Apparently, he's supposed to be way better than Bronny.
Some people say that Bryce is better than Bronny.
Yeah.
Well, he better be. I mean, Bronny's not good, so the bar's not set that high.
Well, already the noise is kicking up on number 2. And we'll see. But I was just interested because I've put a few things out on Twitter over the last couple of months. Maybe 5-6 responses. You throw this out there and you got 30 people that are like, this is the dumbest poll question I've ever seen in my entire life. And if the Jazz do it, I'll never buy another piece of Jazz gear again. And you should be off radio and you should cancel your Twitter account. It's like block.
Do people just wake up angry these days?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, can we have a real conversation about it? Like, are people waking up looking to be upset? Like I follow a lot of like food people because I like to try to get new recipes and stuff like that. Try to adjust cooking and doing some things to try to cut out some carbs and stuff like that. So I'm always looking at these food bloggers. It's my weird downtime hobby now. Mm-hmm. Is I'm getting ready for bed. I'll just scroll Instagram, and you know how funny it is like. All of a sudden, you look up and it's like 45 minutes later. You're like, what have I been doing with my time?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It just sucks you in. But like, I'll read some of these comments. They're like, yeah, it's using canola oil. That's going to kill you. Or how dare you? That's flaxseed oil. That's poison. You're putting poison into your kids. Like, there's this lady who's got this Instagram account. All it is her making a dinner or making a lunch for her husband. Mm-hmm. She's got like tens of thousands of followers. Crazy. But what she does, she's like, I'm going to make my lunch for my husband. And it's like the most unhealthiest lunch on the planet. Uh-huh. But she loves her husband. Her husband wants an unhealthy lunch. He's working 10-hour shifts in an oil field somewhere.
Give him an unhealthy lunch.
And the man wants his unhealthy lunch. And this lady just gets skewered like, you're killing your husband. He's giving him diabetes.
This isn't the lady that puts like a Big Mac into oil, is it?
No,
oh, okay.
No. But like, and I think she knows what she's doing. Like, she knows she's getting interaction because people are upset.
It's unhealthy.
Like, she's poking the bear a little bit too. Like, I get that. But everybody is just so angry. It's like, how dare you? This is why the terrorists hate us. This is why American healthcare system's broken. Rah, 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 rah. Like, hey, just don't pay attention.
Yeah,
you don't need to pay attention to it.
I
it blows me away how I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about how you got somebody out there who just in your life, like when we grew up, we always had that weirdo neighbor or weirdo uncle or whoever that had the weird, crazy, bizarre opinions, right? And it's like, oh, that's Uncle Jed, or that's Bob at Smith's Marketplace up and down the aisle saying really weird, dumb things. And you just laugh at it because, you know, that's Uncle Bob. He says that stuff, and everybody just laughs at him and like, okay, Bob. All right, Bob. Sure. Yep. You know, the moon landing was fake. Yeah, we get it. Ha, ha, ha. And then we all move on with our lives, right? Because we knew he's full of garbage, and we don't worry about it. But now the guy puts something like that on Twitter, or he does something on Instagram or whatever, and we have to just lose our collective minds about it.
Just skewer it.
It just makes no sense to me. Everybody, be cool, man.
It's a strange.
I feel like Samuel L. Jackson. Like, hey, be cool.
It's a strange world of reaction and interaction. It's just a really bizarre world. Just, you know what? Just slick yes or no, and you just move on.
Yeah.
So I can look at my poll.
Yeah, like you are not there. I've seen you be physically intimidating with people. Like when we were at that poker table and that guy sat in your chair, you sat in his or something like that.
Yeah.
And you flexed on him. And that dude cowered away, as he should have.
Yeah.
Because you were bigger and stronger and more intimidating.
I didn't. That wasn't what I intended, though. It's just how it came across.
That's fine. I'd do it if I were you too. But it's not like you're standing over somebody on their phone like, you vote on it right now. You vote.
Yeah.
You vote on this right now or I'm going to break your arm.
Yeah, I'm not pushing you.
You're not doing that? So why the hostility?
It's bonkers. But the bottom line, through these three polls, whether it's 10, 29, or 32, there's a really good showing that Jazz fans don't want to have anything to do with him. And I'm really good with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. The only reason I could see him coming through this organization is that some type of peace.
Yeah.
If they felt like there was value at some point having him on roster in some type of trade or some type of move. That's the only reason. Because I can't ever see him being great.
No.
Or even good.
Rotational?
I don't even see that.
Because I don't see it.
I don't even see that.
Yeah.
I think he's too undersized. I'm actually shocked he didn't go back or go into a transfer portal and go to another program, try to get the right coaching or the right system. But based off his name, he's going to be a first-round guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's going to go in the first round.
Yep. All right. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Friday. It's before a holiday weekend. Hans and I are going to have some fun today. We're just going to chill. We're going to have some fun. We'll talk a lot of NBA. We'll talk some NHL. We got a lot on the plate today. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Looking for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah. We've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
My number one rock voice in all of music.
Oh, yeah?
Chris Cornell.
Yeah, I know. That's right.
Number one.
Yeah.
By a stretch. I miss him.
Yep.
Or is he even on your ranker?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to need to spend some time on that one. I'm going to need to think about that one.
I'd say Queen is in there. Pretty high for me.
Yeah.
I know what is Journey considered?
Pop, maybe.
It's not rock.
No, I wouldn't call it rock.
It's not rock.
No, it's just pop music.
Would Queen be considered rock though? Not really.
No.
Thing is, I feel like Freddie Mercury could have sang anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah.
Anyway,
That dude can absolutely belt it.
Chris Cornell.
Incredible
Rest in peace,
singer.
bud.
All right, so by the way, Win Ticket Wednesday coming up next Wednesday. We give away all kinds of tickets. Next week, you'll have a chance to win MMA Fierce Fighting Championship at the Maverick Center on May 31st. Listen to The Zone all day on Wednesday for your chance to win. It'll be coming up on Wednesday. All right, Hans, let's go NBA playoffs. Another busy night in the NBA last night, and but frankly, kind of a boring night last night.
Very boring.
I was bummed out.
Yeah, it's very boring.
And we thought that there was, I thought maybe I was 100% sure the Pacers were going to lose. I thought they might be able to cover the 9.5. Or was it 10.5? I can't remember.
It was 9.5.
9.5.
Yeah.
But no, the Celtics just put the hammer down, and it was ugly right from the jump. First half, it was all, especially that second quarter, it was all Boston. They pushed the lead out in the third quarter, and it was done.
Well, I think that series is done.
Yeah.
And I've lost interest in that series.
It might be a sweep, too.
Yeah, it very well could be a sweep, and we'll see what's going on with Halliburton. I know we've got him into good, bad, and ugly today, but I think he's done.
Yeah.
You know, he retweaked an injury that he had back in January where he missed 10 games, and he tweaked it bad.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what ends up happening with him, but I've kind of lost interest in that series. It's a Friday. We're having a little bit of fun. Can I take us in a little different direction?
Sure. I'm all for it.
I want to know, as the voice of Utah State,
Yeah.
and I know that you've got a lot of interest in Utah State, what have you thought about these projection realignments for the Pac-12, what Oregon State and Washington State are trying to do? Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, UNLV, Utah State, Colorado State, North Texas, UTSA, Rice, Tulane, and then Oregon State and Washington State. That's the consideration for the reformation of whatever this new Pac-12 identity would be.
I don't hate that.
Dude, it gave me the chills when I saw it.
Yeah. Where'd you get that from? I haven't heard that.
That was the big rumor yesterday. Now, I didn't see it from anybody like any of the top insider college minds.
Yeah.
I just saw that surface from some Oregon State insider. It was either an Oregon State or Washington State insider. But I'm not saying it doesn't have any legs because it's got some. Because we know that the Pac-12, or right now currently the Pac-2, has money. They want to invest. They want to rebuild. They don't want to die. And Oregon State and Washington State can't wait around and wait for somebody to absorb them.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, hands together, I would love to see the Big 12 take them in.
I would too. Absolutely.
But this, to me, is an amazing option because I actually think it's a jump in growth for Utah State.
Yes, 100%.
So it would be Oregon State, Washington State, Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, UNLV, Utah State, Colorado State. Then you go North Texas, UTSA, Rice, and Tulane. Now, I don't know how Tulane got thrown into the mix of this, and I don't necessarily know how Rice got thrown in the mix of this.
Rice is... So Rice gives you... Is Air Force in there, by the way?
No.
That's shocking to me.
Wyoming Air Force, no.
No New Mexico.
No New Mexico.
Oof. I would think Air Force would be involved in something like that because they bring some kind of prestige and all that stuff. Rice brings you academics a credibility. They're the snobs. They're the Duke of now. Granted, Duke's good in basketball. Rice doesn't bring anything really athletically, but they bring this hotty toddy academics. Look at what we have here. Tulane brings you New Orleans, so it's like bringing San Diego. You got a great place to have your conventions and
that's right,
and your meetings.
That's a good point.
UTSA is one of the biggest. We talk about Central Florida as having a huge student body. UTSA has a massive student body, which means that they're only going to continue to grow and get bigger. And they've got tons of resources, tons of student fees. It's a well-funded program. A lot of people think UTSA is a little bit of a sleeping giant.
And then North Texas.
And North Texas gives you the Dallas area.
Yep. Those two get you into Texas.
Yeah.
So you can go into a Texas kid and be like, hey, come out to Logan, and we play Texas twice. And we'll be in your state in front of your people. We'll bring you back home a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because Texas is still fertile recruiting ground.
Yep.
I just love the prospects of it because I was thinking, how incredible would that be for Utah State to get a bump in all of this mess and realignment?
Oh, it'd be incredible.
And I know that there's some really good teams and some great travel partners, and I don't mind the current organization of the Mountain West Conference, but things are about to get wacky because House versus NCAA has been settled.
Yep,
that's over, and now we're moving forward paying athletes. Universities are now going to pay athletes.
Yep, plain and simple.
People have been so confused on the House versus the NCAA. I'm going to dumb this down So when you go to the water cooler here in a few minutes, you can tell your buddies, oh, you know what that means? All that means is the university is going to be able to pay the players. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can tell people, oh, they're actually going to be paying former players back to 2016. And I was reading into some of the organization of how they're going to pay back those guys. And it's typical NCAA, it's typical college sports. They have a model. They don't know exactly what the model is. They think that the model is going to be a mess. That's the basics of it. They've got an algorithm that they've put together, Scotty, to show the players' importance, how many games played, how many years at the university. They've got an algorithm that they think they're going to input over 10,000 student athletes and figure out. There's going to be a group that has a base amount, but then they're going to try to figure out the amount on others.
Yeah, good luck with all of that.
Good luck with that. And everybody's going to share their number. And then those shared numbers are going to tick off a bunch of people. But as this all goes on, what I want to see is Utah State come out of this just glowingly.
Frankly, that's all I want. I mean, from a selfish standpoint, I want to call meaningful games. And there's a concern that this team gets essentially relegated to Big Sky. Not Big Sky per se, but a step above Big Sky.
Right.
And so there is a lot of positioning and a lot of fighting going on to make sure that you have a seat at the table, whatever table that is. And yeah, look, I would love that conference. I would absolutely be elated if that happened for Utah State.
I would love that conference.
Look, it's not the Big 12. You're not where Utah or BYU is, but you're hanging in there.
But I think that where this was generated, Scotty, everybody knows Oregon State and Washington State, they can't just stand still. They're not sleeping through all of this. They've got a treasure chest of money that they've won through different lawsuits and different litigation. And they've been able to hold on to money.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're not just going to sit there and wait for the Big 12 to act. Because the Big 12 already acted, and they didn't include Oregon State and Washington State. They could have at the time. When they took Utah and Arizona State, they could have acted. They didn't. So if you're Washington State and Oregon State, you're like, what is our best outcome? Now, let's say that they don't want us. ACC didn't take us. They were taking everybody. For hell's sake, Cal found out. Stanford found a home. And they didn't take us. So let's get active and make sure that – and the other thing I love, please find a way to keep the Pac-12 logo.
Yes, I agree with that.
And how incredible would it be when this all shakes out that, okay, we got money, we've got some basketball leverage. I mean, because you're throwing Utah State in with UNLV and Colorado State, and you've got yourself some presence there, and be able to rebuild a Pac-12 conference. I think that's best case scenario.
I think if that happened for Utah State, you take that to the bank and you be grateful and you get on your knees and thank the big man upstairs that happened. Because there's a lot of Aggie fans out there. And look, people know I went to school there. My parents went to school there. I met my wife there. I have a kid that's going there. Well, I just graduated from there actually. And so, yeah, that school, I've got a little bit of that blood that runs through my veins. I admit that, fully admit that. And I call their games. I want them to be successful because I want to call teams that win. And so, yes, I have emotional ties to Utah State. I will fully admit that. I don't think that hampers my coverage of Utah State or BYU or Utah by any stretch. Hopefully, I've been able to develop that reputation throughout the years. But as an alum, as a guy who calls their games, and as a guy who covers teams in the state of Utah, you could not ask for a better situation than that for where Utah State is. Because there's a lot of people out there. I grew up with that fan base, and I know that there is a certain expectation that anything bad that could happen to Utah State will go bad for Utah State. Whether that's true or not, there's always that vibe like, oh boy, could it go badly? Yes, it could, and it probably will. But if that goes their way, hey, that's awesome. That's incredible.
Well, Scotty, the other reason that you have to at least consider this as a conversation is because what else is Washington State and Oregon State going to do?
Yeah, they've got nowhere else to go.
What else are they going to do?
Yeah.
to me, it's the most viable road.
Yes.
And they can't exist in this partnership for more than a year.
No.
I mean,
they're parking their other sports in the West Coast Conference.
Yeah.
And we saw what that did to BYU's basketball program. BYU languished in the West Coast Conference. They spent 1 year in the Big 12, and they get a top 5 bid in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. And then a complete rebuild on a head coach that would have never happened in the West Coast Conference. I hope people understand that. If BYU was still in the West Coast Conference when Pope left, you're not getting Kevin Young.
Nope. Oh, no.
You're
not
just
even
saying,
close.
hey, let's manage this. Let's figure this. But what you did was you're like, we're in the NBA of college basketball. We are in the top end. We got to compete. So let's get some money together and go get a big dog.
Yep.
And that's what you get. So I know that Oregon State and Washington State can't keep doing what they're doing. And it only makes sense.
Well, and now they have some financial clarity as to what they owe and what they're getting in terms of the NCAA. With that court ruling that they got, essentially they own their conference now.
Yeah.
They don't have to share it with the other 10 schools that are leaving.
Yep.
So they know financially where they're at.
And they keep the label.
Yes, they keep the label.
They get to keep the name. So do something with it and be aggressive and go grab the best teams that you can grab and build something great. And I like the thought of the model, and there are a couple teams that don't make sense, but what makes sense anymore in a conference?
Absolutely nothing makes sense.
The only thing that makes sense in a conference is what can we do to best make money?
Yep.
That's the only thing that makes sense. So getting into Texas a little bit, taking a team which, it's got some history out of Louisiana, and building the best conference you can.
All right, Hans and Scotty, 1248. Thanks for making us part of your day right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up next, what you may have missed, Christian hanging out for a vacationing Lloyd Cole and doing a tremendous job as always. Coming up at 105, Jay Stevens will join us. We'll talk some hockey with him coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Number one. Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The board, Bouchard in front, deflected home, and Edmonton wins the game. 3-2. It's Connor McDavid in double overtime.
Oh, now that's a call, Hans.
That's a call,
That's
baby.
a call.
Yes.
Yes. Bringing the heat.
Hey, can you give that to me one more time? It's a Friday. Well, I love to feel the energy and excitement because I'm excited for Game 2 coming up tonight between Minnesota and the Dallas Mavericks after what happened in Game 1.
Yeah.
Game 2 is going to be so good. Give it to me one more time, Christian.
It's Connor McDavid in double overtime.
Yes, sir.
Connor McDavid, how about the whirlwind he was on?
Yeah.
Took a 4-minute penalty in the first overtime. Seconds into the first overtime, your leader, your captain, the man that you rely on, and then the Oilers are able to fight through overtime 1 to get themselves to overtime 2. And Connor McDavid comes in and scores the winning goal. And it's like the energy was exciting. So this was the first time for me.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not the first time for you, but this was the first time for me that NHL won the night.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. By a
the
mile.
postseason.
By a mile. Yeah.
The NBA has won the night for me every night except for last night. I blanked out, especially when Halliburton went down. It was like,
we're done here. Yeah.
And Boston's got me snoring a little bit. They're just too systematic. They're just too good. They're too team-oriented. And it's like, huh?
Yeah.
But you flip over and you're watching a critical game one with the Oilers and the Dallas Stars, and you're watching big mistakes. You're watching Edmonton get up, and you're watching Dallas fight back to push overtime, and then you're watching a double overtime. It was a lot of fun last night.
Jay Stevens is going to join us. We'll ask him what was more impressive, fighting off that 4-minute penalty or the goal to win it.
Oh, that's a good one. Probably fighting off the 4-minute.
That's what I would think.
Don't you think?
I've got to think that was the case.
Hell, we're just starting to figure this thing out. So the Oilers take a 1-0 lead on the Dallas Stars on a 3-2 win in double overtime. The NHL is a lot of fun.
Oh, man, it's so much fun.
It's a lot of fun, and we just continue to build on it.
Coming up tonight, you've got the Panthers and the Rangers. Let's see if the Rangers can get their act together. After getting blanked in Madison Square Garden 3-0, they'll try to regroup as they take on the Panthers.
The other game that you got tonight, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks in Game 2 of that series. That's a 6:30 tip on TNT. Minnesota is a 5.5-point favorite in a game coming off a loss to Dallas in Game 1.
There's that old adage, Dallas got what they needed, a split on the road, so they might not have that same type of energy tonight. I can see that. But it wouldn't surprise me if Dallas comes in and goes, hey, let's get 2. Because they're certainly more than capable. Again, like I said yesterday, Hans, I'm done predicting. I'm just a casual observer. I'm telling you, I'm getting fast and loose with my popcorn. I got my popcorn maker all fired up.
I know.
I'm gonna get me a bunch of that fake butter. A lot of the salt.
I can't believe it's not butter.
No, I buy like the fake movie stuff.
Oh, do you?
Oh yeah.
But it's still great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have all the saturated fats?
Oh, no, it does.
Oh,
yeah, that's why I
okay.
said I'm getting fast and loose with the popcorn.
All right. So can Minnesota get down 0-2 on home court and do it again?
No.
Because that's what they did with Denver, right?
Well, they went up 2-0 against Denver.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They went up 0-2 and then went down, or then went to 2-2.
Yeah. So they won 2 in Denver and then lost 2 in Minnesota.
That's right. The home team lost all the first 4 games.
Correct.
That's right.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty Chin. That's
right. Yeah!
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Friday, everybody. Hour 1 in the books. We continue on, getting you ready for the weekend. Hope you have a big 3-day weekend planned. By the way, show brought to you by Mountainland Supply, where the pros go for plumbing, landscaping, irrigation, agricultural irrigation, HVAC parts, tools, safety equipment. You know the drill. Water runs through it. They'll take care of you. It's Mountainland.com. That's Mountainland.com for a location nearest you. All right, hockey insider, hockey savant. He's forgotten more about the great game of hockey than you'll ever know, and he can beat you up, too. It's Jay Stevens. All right, so what was more impressive, the McDavid goal to win it or or fighting off the 4 minutes of penalty, of the penalty in the first overtime?
So I thought they were both really impressive. I'm really rooting for Dallas, but I loved seeing McJesus get that goal because,
by the way, best nickname.
Yeah, and he's earned it. I mean, I don't know that there's been an athlete with more pressure on him to go into that market, to be given that nickname. He was the next one after Sid. You had Gretzky, and then Sid was supposed to be the next one, and then this McDavid was supposed to be the next one, and everybody thought, well, Edmonton will just win 4 or 5 cups in a row, and everything will be great. And so that kid's had so much pressure on him since day one. And to see that goal last night, at first I screamed, no. But then I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's in the big picture of hockey and how cool of a sport it is. it would be cool to see him accomplish those goals.
So talk about that 4-minute penalty, though. Talk about your seconds into overtime one, and kind of walk me through what that situation was.
So it doesn't matter how the stick draws blood, right? You are to be in control of your stick at all times. So, it's an automatic 2-minute penalty. And then hockey, one of the weirdest things in the world is if you draw blood, it's an extra 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah. So
Can you believe that, Scotty?
Yeah.
And it's legit.
Yeah.
And it's not actually.
I could not figure that. I'm thinking, what is. And it's just that if any blood comes out, it's 2 minutes.
Yeah. It's not actually written in the rule book, but that is how it has always been called. Because that's the part of the intent to injure. So if you high stick somebody, and that stick draws blood, it's a 4-minute. It's a double minor. So it's we did see earlier in the playoffs where they didn't call it, and that just blew up on social media. Everybody wanted that ref fired. He's not following the code. So yeah, I mean, they went immediately to the video, which is also good, right? We want to make sure we get those calls right. And yeah, I was fine with it. I was really surprised they killed it off. But
you thought they were dead?
Yeah,
dead on the ice in that moment,
for sure. But last night's game was completely different than the Rangers-Florida series. For a 3-0 game, I thought that was more equal. Even though it was 3-0, I thought last night Edmonton dominated.
That's so interesting for you to say, because that's the nuance that Hans and I are really working towards. Because I'm watching that and the 3-0 game, it just, it's like, wow, the Rangers are just getting hammered. But you're looking at it from a different angle. You played the game, and you're like, no, these teams are really equal. This is not a 3-0 game.
There was a couple bounces here and there. And Bobrovsky's amazing. I think that was part of the difference. But so is Shesterkin. I mean, Shesterkin is the best goalie in the NHL right now. And just to see those games go, I really thought that game was more balanced than the game you saw last night going to double overtime, because I thought Edmonton absolutely dominated the Stars. So,
but you can still blink for just a split second, give up 2 goals.
Absolutely.
Whatever it was. What is in the second?
It was.
No, it was one in the second, one in the third.
Yeah.
From Dallas, right?
That was, yeah. Now I got to play it back in my head. I just remember the tying goal with like a few minutes left, wide open.
Wide open.
What a breakdown.
And it's like a team can just blink for a second, and you've got a team that was getting their butt kicked. All of a sudden, they slip back into that game and force it to overtime.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of games that had 3 and 4 goal leads get just blown up, and that's the cool thing about the NHL. Well, any pro sport, right? But the NHL in particular, you're not out. You're just not out. And a lot of people thought it was over, and they were already celebrating in Edmonton, and it's cool.
So when we're looking at the top, because I always compare things to the NBA and what I know about the NBA. When we're looking at the top 5 basketball players in the NBA, I can name them.
Yeah.
Can you name the top 5 in hockey? And is McDavid one of the top 5?
Oh yeah, 100%. He's one. That's going to get down to some of your personal preferences on what actually makes somebody one of the greatest players. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to put McDavid up there. Sidney Crosby's still one of the best. And then you start looking at Nathan McKinnon. There's going to be those players on every team. And I would say everybody pretty much agrees that McDavid's the best. And then you got to have McKinnon in that mix too. And then Crosby's still there. So I think that's going to be your top 3. And then everything else is pretty, I think, personal.
Do they still call him Sid the Kid, or do they call him Sid Middle-Aged Man?
Still called the Kid.
Oh, is he? Okay.
A lot of times they just call him the Kid. And he's what, 40?
He's
getting up there.
He's been on the ice a long
37,
time.
I think, yeah. Because he was drafted the same year as Parise. Parise just finished his 17th year. So that's a long time to be in the show.
It's a long time. That's a lot of wear and tear on the body, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we really appreciate how much? I mean, everybody talks about how football is so physical and all that, but I can't imagine the wear and tear on a body.
Yeah, for
playing 17 years in the league.
82 games this season. Especially if you're Sid or McDavid, everybody's out to get you.
Yeah.
Every shift, you're going to get hit. Just when you're watching the game tonight, just look at one of the top players, like look at Zibanejad from the Rangers, and watch every shift for him, and watch how everybody's going to give him an extra cross check. Everybody's going to give him an extra elbow. Every shift he's on the ice, people are going to be out to break, or Panarin for sure, because they think you can break the Euros a little easier, but it's not true. But they're going to give them a shot every shift.
Were you surprised they lost on that New York ice in Game 1?
No.
Really?
I wasn't. I've been saying this since mid-season. And like I've said before, I put my money where my mouth is. I was in Vegas. Somebody asked me then, and this was before we knew we were getting an NHL team, so nobody really cared about my opinion. But somebody here asked me, they're like, who's going to win the Cup? And I said, Florida. Florida's going to win the Cup. They've been playing Stanley Cup playoff hockey all season. They've got Tkachuk, who's just out there agitating everybody and elevating that game and throwing everybody else off their game. And then with Bobrovsky and net, I just thought they had the two secret ingredients that you need, and that's intense, borderline abusive hockey and a solid goaltender. So
as we learn this game, and like Hans said, we try to equate it to other sports that we know really well. I'm starting to compare Edmonton a little bit to Green Bay.
Okay.
In terms of the Packers.
All right.
Because it's a city that nobody ever really looks at and goes, "Ooh, I want to go there." That's a bucket list place for me to go visit and check out the Edmonton Tour of Commerce. But incredible history, incredible players that have been through there.
Oh yeah,
incredible legacy. Is that a fair comparison as people try to learn the landscape?
Probably love cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I when you first started saying it, I was thinking, I would compare them more to the Yankees or something. But I think you're dead on with that as far as the cities go, and not to, rip on Canada or anything. But when you go across Canada, you're like, where do I really want to go? Outside of BC, I don't think anything else comes up.
Toronto.
I mean, if you've been to New York, it's kind of the same thing. I don't think there's all that many great cities there that you would put on your bucket list outside of Vancouver.
Yeah.
So, but I think you're right. I think that's a great comparison with Green Bay. And, they've had a what a history team, a storied team. Just amazing player. Obviously with Gretzky and those guys and Messier. And you just go back and look at the players that have been through there. And they've won a lot of cups. And it is a cool city. Like when you're there, it's a cool city, the same way New York is a cool city, and same thing with Toronto.
You're probably the first person to compare New York and Edmonton.
Well, just the city part of it. Yeah. It's a big city for a second. It's bigger than Salt Lake.
My buddy, he's passed. I did jazz pre-half and post with him forever. Tom Nasalki.
Oh yeah,
he was a commissioner of the. There was a Canadian league that was like 6'2" or under or something like that. It was a weird offshoot league.
They built a basketball league with undersized individuals.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird offshoot thing. And they're like, hey, we'll pay you money to run. He's like, I'll take whatever money you'll take. I don't care. But he spent a lot of time in Edmonton. And he goes, the whole city, for 4 months, goes underground.
Yeah.
It's just because it's so frigid cold there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's true. And then, for me, as a North Dakota temporary resident for a long, that was the same thing in North Dakota. Everything had tunnels because you don't want to go outside. Minneapolis, St. Paul, same way. Everything's got sky bridges and tunnels that connect everything because it's too cold to go outside.
It's too cold. It's funny you bring up Bobrovsky because that was, if you remember back to our first conversation, remember I was talking about his spinning save.
Oh, yeah.
When he brought his stick around and I don't know how he did it. And you said to me, that guy is literally one of the best in net right now. I actually put out a video on Twitter because I was shocked by the athleticism and the speed, and whether he tracked the puck behind him or didn't track the puck behind him to get his stick exactly where it needed to be.
Yeah,
he is just spectacular. And so I'm kind of wondering, how often is your best goalie in the league in your Final Four, if you're Eastern and Western Conference Finals, how often is your best goalie there?
I'm going to be 100% biased on this as a goaltender, but it has to be a hot goaltender. That is what gets you through a championship. You can't have an average. You can't even have the best goalie having an average year. Your goaltender has to be the best goalie, and he has to be having an amazing streak. If you look back to when Quick won the Cups, or even go back to when the Ducks won the Cup with Jaguar, he was unscoreable. You could not get anything past him. And he walked into the playoffs with an 89% save average. And this is exactly the same.
What percentage is a acceptable good percentage?
92 is where you want to be.
And he was where?
And he was at 89
Oh,
when the playoffs started. And this is the same with Quick. Quick was at about it. I think he was even lower than 89. I think he was like 88.9. So you want to give him the 89. But then when playoffs started, Quick went to like 96% save. Like, it was ridiculous. And so when you have a guy like that, or Martin Brodeur, he was always pretty high. But when the Devils were winning the Cup, they were running a trap, and then they would just give up breakaways. Because every once in a while, he would end up with like 15, 20 shots on goal, but half of them were breakaways. Yeah. So you have to have the hottest goaltender to win the Cup.
Hey, they call him the Tendy? Is that the
goaltender? Yeah. The kids nowadays do call him Tendies.
I've heard a bunch of names for it.
Yeah, so they say stuff like Pracky and Tendies.
So I don't know.
But bottom line is, you can't win a Stanley Cup with incredible offense and mediocre goaltending.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see that. I think that's going to be the downfall of Edmonton. And Skinner's great. He's fine. He's a solid first save goalie. He's normally exactly where he's supposed to be on that first shot. But then it's just up for grabs after that. I don't think he's a great scrambler. So I think Edmonton's weakness is going to be in net. I think they have he's an NHL goalie. I think he's good. He's not Stanley Cup winning good. So I think that's their Achilles heel. So yeah, I think you can't just have everything up front and hope to win.
For those of you that don't know Jay Stevens or kind of know his background, he is a tender, so he's been in the net for a lot of years. You've seen a lot of things come your way. When you get on that heater and you just feel like you're saving everything,
yeah,
what's happening mentally? Are your nerves high end, or are you more calm and relaxed?
The funny thing is when you are in the zone, everything else is just slowed down. And I've had some games, like in college and stuff, where I knew I wasn't going to get beat. And I would even process stuff like, one time I didn't go for a save because I knew it was a hand pass, but nobody else really realized it was a hand pass. But my mind had already processed everything. And normally, it's just crazy how much it slows down for you and how much more you can process when you're in the zone. And the nerves are out the door. Like you don't feel it at all. You're just in this nice, comfortable zone, and everything's coming out like nothing. Even when you make a mistake, there are times where I'm like, I stumbled or something happened weird, and the puck still hit me because I was just in the zone.
Still got it.
Yeah, it was just, it's crazy.
And
I've heard other goalies talk.
It really does. It happens for these guys.
Yep, and they're just reading it, and at that level too, because it's so fast in the NHL, and just even the practices or the games I've got in the pros, like it's fast for me at AA. And then for these guys to be in the NHL and be able to slow it down that much.
How, again, pardon our ignorance a little bit here, but when Rudy Gobert was killing it for the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell was not a good perimeter defender. Mike Conley was, not a particularly good perimeter defender. And Quinn Snyder would...
Joe Ingles
was definitely not a good perimeter defender. And so the Jazz, but knowing that Rudy was such a good rim protector, the Jazz would funnel players in and allow Rudy to be a great rim protector. But it also led to Rudy getting embarrassed a few times because he didn't have the help on the perimeter. So how often do goaltenders get blamed for things that may be part of that perimeter defense that isn't particularly good? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. How often do you leave your goalie out to dry?
Yeah.
And then everybody thinks
your goaltender
it was the goalie's
sucks.
fault?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And it happens... mostly with people that don't really understand the game, and it really happens in youth hockey because you get parents in there that are like, oh, our goalie's terrible. Well, he had 45 shots or whatever. Or even if it was only 10 shots and they're odd man breakaways, there's a system, right? If two people are coming down towards me on net, I'll yell, and if I have one defender, I'll say, hey, 2-on-1, letting my defender know I'm going to take the shooter. You have to take that pass, that backdoor pass. So I get 100% set on the guy that's about to shoot. And then he makes that pass and my defender misses it. And it's what happened last night.
Yeah.
Wide open, backdoor pass.
Open.
So everybody's like, where's our goalie? Why is our goalie over there?
One of the easiest goals I've seen. And I was thinking the exact same thing.
Not the goalie's fault.
That far out of position?
Yeah, not the goalie's fault. That defender has to stop that backdoor pass. Because the other option is, and especially in the NHL, even at my level, if I cheat a little bit to one side because I know that pass is coming, then that guy's going to shoot, And then it really is my fault because if that puck goes in off the F1, the first forward that has the puck, that's my fault. I should have stopped that. And you'll hear some announcers drive me nuts on the NHL, like on TNT, but then they have a lot of goalies in there too that know what they're talking about. So some people will still blame it on the goalie, and goalies know. Like I know if I should have had it. And I'll say it right away. I'll be like, sorry guys, that was my bad. And I won't say anything when it's their bad. I'll let them, because they know. They know. But like youth league parents are the worst at it, and then some men's league gets it, and then some fans, when you're even at the Grizzlies games or in the NHL, some fans just don't understand who's supposed to do what. There's an assignment for every play. So, it's people are supposed to be in a certain position, and when that doesn't happen, somebody else moves over and tries to cover for it, make up for it, and then that leaves something else open. And that's how you win and lose games, right? Is those little mistakes. But we all know whose fault it ultimately was.
So Jay, I'm curious about this because my eye, and I'm sure Scotty probably does this too, my eye, no matter what, when I meet somebody, my eye can place them on a football field. Like it just,
wow. Okay,
I would set you at either a middle linebacker or maybe an outside linebacker.
Okay.
Maybe take some weight off you and make you a safety. Like I can, okay. My eye goes to football.
All right.
Are you the prototypical build of a goalie?
I think I'm the prototypical build of a hockey player, yeah. I think we all look alike, and I don't think the position really matters that much anymore.
So 6'1"-ish, 6 foot to 6'2"-ish.
Yeah.
190 to 230-ish.
Yeah, and what they're drafting for goalies now is 6'3" and above, but the ones that are really still sticking in the end, because if you look at they're looking for really big goalies that they think they can just make NHL ready. So you'll see a 6'4" goalie with an 88% save average in college still get drafted, and you'll see a 5'9" kid with a 92% save average have to sign as a free agent.
Wow.
And that's the kid that's going to make it, though.
Wow.
That's still the kid that's going to make it.
Do you I'm trying to think, like there's an old adage, there's a certain age where you can't coach shooting anymore in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like you get to a point where like, okay, he's just a bad shooter. He's not going to learn to be a better shooter. His form was bad. He never developed it, and he is who he is. He's got other intangibles that make him great. Is there a certain point where he's an 88, 89% guy, and it's not getting any better?
Yeah, I think for goaltenders there is, unless they have, sometimes if you have that natural ability and you can get with the right goalie coach, then I think they can really perfect you a little bit more. But at some point, you got to be like, yeah, that kid's just he's not going to make it.
Yeah. What do you expect tonight? I know we kept you way too long, but what do you expect tonight?
I expect to see some fights. I expect to see the Rangers come out. I wouldn't be surprised to see some cheap shots in the first period. I think they need to set the tone and kind of take over a little bit if they stand a chance to be in this series. Otherwise, but I still expect Florida to win tonight.
So if it goes back to Florida, it's a sweep.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see New York win a game, but or a couple games. But they're going to have to change it up. And again, I thought that game was way more evenly matched than the score showed. I was kind of surprised because I thought Florida would just come in and rough them up. But you got to. I forgot the kid's name. Their fighter. That kid, he's going to have to do something tonight, and he's going to have to kind of send a message to Tkachuk, and I don't know that Tkachuk takes that bait.
Any news on the Utah front? Did we narrow down names or?
So the name the team closed last night.
I know they closed. Are they going to announce another bracket with that down to 8 or something like that?
I would expect them to drop another 20 names. Honestly,
really?
If they're not going to announce till mid-season. And I don't have any inside information on this. This isn't anything that they've told me anything about. Like, we talked about the name on our first few meetings with them, but they haven't told me anything else. I'm in the same boat as everybody else. But I see people posting like, "Oh, this is the Final Four." No, that was another news agency's own thing.
Yeah.
Smith Entertainment Group hasn't released anything about the name yet. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another bracket of 20 names because they left out some of the top names like Raptor, Eagles. There are a lot of names that were getting high votes on our surveys. So, and then I'd see the bracket come up because we haven't seen like the bracket. He said there was going to be a bracket, right? So I expect to see more names thrown into the mix.
Utah Puck Report is the podcast. So many great interviews with current members of the Utah NHL team. You just continue to pump out interview after interview. This is exclusive content you're not getting anywhere else. So go to and wherever you get your podcasts and at KSLSports.com, Utah Puck Report. Jay, you're killing it, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, man. Love being here.
We love having you in studio.
And by the way,
it's
it's really cool that you're patient with us as we try to make some comparisons, learn the sport, and hopefully you see that we're at least putting in our work.
I love it. You guys are growing, man. I love it. And I'm happy to be your host.
Awesome. You're the best. Jay Stevens, Utah Puck Report on KSLSports.com. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hans, time for another edition of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, all brought to you by RGS Exteriors. Again, if it's the outside of your home, RGS is ready to go. Go to RGS Exteriors and check out everything that they can do for you, whether it's just fixing the rain gutters or doing a complete remodel gut job to the outside of your home with the James Hardy and all the stuff that goes along with it. They're ready to go.
Best.
Before we get to your good, a little bit of an update, and there's a good story at KSLSports.com, but Justin Zanuck has underwent the transplant surgery, and guess who's back at work? He's ready to go.
What are we, a month out?
Yeah, about a month. Yeah. Kidney transplant, successful, and now he's back getting the team ready for the draft.
Good job, Justin.
Happy for him. So
congratulations.
Want to put him on the good. Nice write-up at KSLSports.com about that right now.
Yeah, go take a look at that, and we're happy for Justin. The other part of the good, we just don't see this in the NFL, and I do wish that it happened more, because a lot of times in professional sports, you'll see a guy get a huge chunk of money and all the wishing and all the good faith that an organization could draw up, and then he goes out there and lets them down.
Yeah.
This is a rare situation where Maxx Crosby goes out and sets a career high in sacks. He's able to bring down 15 sacks in a season. And the Las Vegas Raiders have rewarded him for that season by giving him $6 million more for next season. Now, they didn't extend the contract. They haven't done years, but what they've done is just attach $6 million to his contract next season. So it's almost like a thank you.
Yeah.
And you just don't ever see this in the NFL.
No, never.
Because they don't have to pay him more.
Yeah.
But they want to keep him happy. They want to keep him producing. But this is a guy now that's put together 52 career sacks.
Dude's a beast.
He is one of the most menacing ends in all of football right now.
When he takes over a game, he's literally unstoppable.
He is. He's unblockable.
Yeah.
His length, and he is – now, he's much better at his job than the Birdman was.
Yeah.
But he is the Birdman of football. What I mean by that, you remember how the Birdman just went?
Yes.
He just went. There was never a possession, never a transition, never a 50-50 ball, never a rebound that he didn't fight after in his height.
Yeah.
And that's Maxx Crosby. Now, you can draw all the different, tattooed comparisons and everything, and addiction comparisons. I know the Birdman went through a lot of addiction, and Maxx Crosby did too. He took a large part of his rookie season to go through addiction recovery.
I'd forgotten about that. You're right.
To get to where he is now.
It's a great success story.
He is. He's great. And I love that the Las Vegas Raiders handed him $6 million when they didn't have to.
They didn't have to, but he's earned it. And let's be honest here, too. It's also in terms of like, hey, we'll take care of you, but we're going to need you to be here long term. Yeah.
When all this comes back around.
Remember who gave you the $6 million.
Because that is a really, really nice boost. And the other part of that is, oh, by the way, so we're giving you this $6 million. I know that you had 14.5 sacks last season, but what we'd like is for you to be the NFL sack leader.
Yes.
If you could get 17.5, that would be great.
And he's certainly more than capable. Usually, if he gets 17.5, 10 of them will come against the Broncos. That game in Vegas last year, he was unstoppable. You remember that, Christian? Me and my boy were there. It was just a miserable
Yeah, that was like
night.
the last game of the season.
Yep.
One of the last games, right?
Oh, you guys were at that game?
Yeah, that was the one we were at.
So you got to see him be unblockable in person.
Yep. And you just knew it was coming. Like, you knew that dude was coming around the edge, and you couldn't stop him.
Well, then
he also has like a beef with Mike McGlinchey, the Broncos' right tackle.
Yeah.
They've got some sort of thing, so they hate each other.
Well, this is what we do know about Maxx Crosby and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders will trade him away for a bag of peanuts.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, we don't even know what happened.
Well, we're going younger. All right, there's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
Good, the bad, the ugly, and this is really bad for Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton left the game in the third quarter when the loss to the Celtics. Did not return because of a sore left hamstring. Pacers coach Rick Carlisle said he aggravated the injury he suffered earlier in the year and that the team would know more about his status later today. Indiana's down 2-0, and I don't know, Hans, you're Doc Talk guy. I don't think we see him again this series.
Well, I don't.
Because I don't think it's going past 4 or 5 games, and I don't think he's ready to get back on the court anytime soon.
I guess now we have to ask, how does Halliburton feel about Rick Carlisle? Because Donovan Mitchell was able to get his coach fired by not playing. So I guess you could look at Halliburton and say, well, how bad do you want it? Because those guys have to know that it's impossible. This is an impossible task.
Yeah.
So he's got to be asking himself, all right, so I could go out there. This thing's feeling really tight, and it could pop in half. Because what I've done now is strain it, at least according to reports. And I guess I could put some CT tape on it and go out there and warm it up and try to push, and then it'll blow on me, and then where am I?
Yeah.
Plus, I don't really like where we stand right now. Like, I could do a couple other things. I'd like this to happen and this to happen. I don't know. I don't expect him back. As you mentioned, he missed the 10 games. When he missed the 10 games, they went 6-4 without him. And they'll go 0-2 without him.
Yeah.
And this will be a sweep.
Well.
So I don't even know. Maybe at a 60%, maybe it's a sweep anyways. Maybe it's a sweep with 100%.
And if I'm Halliburton, I'm looking at like, okay, how much do I salvage this series if I'm out on the court? And that's the cost and, the benefit and cost analysis there. Like, are we going to win this if I'm out on the court? No. Could I cost myself part of next season by blowing that hamstring by going out there too early? Yes. Okay, then you make a business decision. I know fans hate hearing that, but and if I'm the Pacers, I'm thinking that same way too. Like, you have to realistically look at it, like, can we really win this series if he's out there? No. Okay, then. Because he's not going to be 100%. You're going to risk long-term damage that could extend into next season. Is it worth it? I don't think so.
See, if you were to switch this leg and take Tatum's good leg and put it on Halliburton and take this bad leg and put it on Tatum, Tatum probably goes.
Yeah. Because Tatum can win a title.
Or Tatum looks at it and goes, I think they can get this win without me, and I'll be back for game 5.
That's a good point, because that's essentially what they're doing with Porzingis, too.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. They're hoping on a dream that they can get it back for the finals. So maybe Tatum takes some time off too and just says,
we can win it without him.
You guys go and get it without him. Halliburton knows they can't win it without him.
No.
But he also knows they can't win it with him, bro.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what it comes down to, is that you're just screwed either way. You're done. So just shut it down and get ready for next season. That's a good young team with a lot of really good pieces on it. And but yeah, if I'm Rick Carlisle, I'm like, let's hope this dude doesn't get me fired. All right, there you go. Good, the bad, the ugly. Coming up next, another edition of Whole World News. And then in the 2 o'clock hour, we'll get back to the NBA. It's all straight ahead. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Go! It's time to span the globe for the hard-hitting news you care about. Well, not really. But hey, at least we found it interesting. This is Whole World News on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We've got the whole world in our hands.
You got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, motorcycle riders, keep a safe distance between cars. Drivers, look out for motorcycles and check twice when changing lanes. Meet in the middle so your paths don't actually literally meet in the middle, because that's not good for either one of you. It's a message from the Utah Department of Public Safety. You ever been a motorcycle guy? You ever have that ambition to be like, I'm going to go get me a chopper?
No. Zero.
Yeah, same.
You haven't had any?
We had like a little beat up one that we had growing up that we'd take out to the fields to change hand lines.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, so that's about my experience on motorcycles.
Can you see Christian in full leathers on a bullet bike?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're a bullet bike guy, aren't you, Christian, in full leathers?
He got the chaps on.
Too scary for me. I'm not a thrill seeker. No.
You're not doing that?
No, I'm a play it safe kind of guy.
I could just see him with these full leathers that has a dragon that stretches from like a shoulder all the way down to the ankle, like an elaborate stitched into the leather dragon.
With a big old CE, embroidered on there.
Yeah. That's not you at all?
No.
You got mama sitting in the sidecar.
That would be, or like my dog.
Yeah.
Like a little sidecar for my dog.
You're a dog guy? What kind of dog do you have?
He's a mini poodle border collie mix.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he's cool.
Oh, that's great. How long have you had him? Longer than the marriage?
Yeah, well, we got him when we first moved in together.
Okay.
So it's been like 2.5 years.
Okay. Is he more like yours or more hers?
Like, who does he latch on to?
Yeah, no, he likes to like sit in my lap, like cuddle with me during the day, but then at night, like he lays on her all night. Yeah.
Does he? That's awesome. So he does sleep in the bed with you?
Oh, it's non-negotiable.
So does Gracie.
Yeah.
Buster never got to do that.
No. Well, met with Mackie.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So believe me, he's the most spoiled dog in the world.
Buster?
Yeah.
He's not hurting.
No. And Gracie's the most spoiled dog in the world. So, but those dogs are hilarious. Well, so no bike at all for you.
Probably. If I were to get a bike, I don't know if I'd get like the bullet bike and, super fast.
Those guys that, that drive to Sturgis and do all that stuff, like, that's a different kind of breed right there.
It is. I don't know what it is, but I've never.
And I respect it. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, if you love it.
Yeah, go do it, but it's not my thing.
I like to feel the wind in my hair, brother. I don't like those helmet rules. All right, man.
You do you, big fella.
Crack that puppy open like a melon on the freeway.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
I'm going to try to feel bad for you, but if you're
not really
choosing not to put on the helmet. Have you do the Airbnb thing much?
I've done it a couple times, yeah.
Have you ever had something build as it was, and then you get there and you're like, this is not. I had a really bad Airbnb experience.
I've done it, honestly, I can only say I've done it twice.
Okay.
And both have been kind of what I expected.
Okay. I've probably done it 10 or 15 times. Yeah.
Wow.
I've done a lot of Airbnb, and I've had one really bad experience.
I just don't like the fact like you got to wash, get the bedding out and do this and do this, and
Before
you're like cleaning, and then you get hit with this like $200 cleaning fee.
Yeah, that does happen. This woman from Argentina, she's I think she's looking at a lawsuit. She went to a villa and got an Airbnb in Italy. And on the pictures, it says beautiful views of the sea, beautiful views of the ocean. And she's released a video of the Airbnb. And when she got there, it's a mural of the ocean that's on the wall.
That's awesome.
It's a gigantic mural of the ocean that's on the wall.
I don't know why that makes me laugh so much.
But somebody actually posted it. Beautiful views of the sea in this Italy villa on Airbnb, and she's ticked, and she's released it. And it looks like they're getting in trouble. She's thinking about suing. It's not. It's just a picture of the sea. And I will tell you, I looked at getting into the Airbnb game for about 2 years.
Yeah, I remember talking about that.
And I was thinking about doing this, and then you start reading about how you've got to stage and what you've got to do to entice, and you've got to get the 5-star ratings. And so people are leaving out bags of Smart Pop popcorn. And just all the stupid little things that you got to do to keep your star rating. And even then, you get some dork that comes in and they find a hair on the floor and they're like, no, one star.
Can absolutely wreck you. Yep.
Now, I did 1 star that Airbnb, but that's because there was a dog kennel attached to the house that had 10 barking dogs right next to the stinking bedroom. And the bathroom was disgusting. There's no way it had been cleaned in the last 2 years.
Ugh.
And I'm like, this is what I get for $25? This is what I get. 25 hard-earned dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, hard pass
I mean, the price was good, but nowhere in the Airbnb description did it say dog kennel attached to house and a stinky bathroom. So even then, I don't feel good about paying $25.
No, nor should you, man. That's awful.
I did leave a bad review.
Good for you, man. They deserve it. Oh, Dave's flabbergasted with you.
You're not happy about that?
You spoke your mind?
I did.
If they deserve it, they deserve it.
When I was writing the review, though, I did kind of feel like that guy. I was like, oh, jeez. But
you know what, though? Feedback is helpful.
It is.
You don't improve unless you know.
Exactly.
And American First Credit Union knows that. You guys have continued to improve since 1939.
No big deal.
It's incredible.
85 years we've been helping members.
It all started with like a coffee can, right?
It was a Prince Albert tobacco can.
Tobacco
That was
can.
the first cash register. Yeah, they just lumped all their savings together, and it wasn't a lot, but they helped each other out. Yeah.
85 years ago.
85 years
here in the state of Utah, too.
Yep, right there at Fort Douglas. There near the U of U campus.
I wish the originators could take a look at the logoing on the RCA or the dome in Vegas and be like,
That'd be a trip for them.
we went from a coffee can
To a Roomba.
to a Roomba.
Roomba, the
in
Death
Vegas.
Star, yeah, down in Vegas.
Or they could see the America First logoing up on the RSL Stadium.
America First Field, yeah.
And just see how far it's come because you guys have just done amazing things with the name and brand.
Well, it's all in part just due to people coming together and the cooperative effort and just trying to figure out how do we make better products and services for everybody. And we've gained the trust of the community and the membership. And so it's, hats off to them. We work for them.
Are you guys always looking for good employment too? I was curious about that because when I was out there for the ribbon cutting and I was seeing the people announce, it was cool. You brought up a lot of different people that would be working at the branch and announced them and talked about their backgrounds. Are you always looking for good employees?
Absolutely. We are always, every company should be looking for good employees, but we're always looking for those employees that have service as, the forefront of what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And I probably, in talking with a lot of employees, because I used to work in HR quite a bit before my current job, but everybody just talks about the wonderful education they get by working in the financial industry. And so we train really, really well. We train a lot on products and services, and they get a lot of good information. So the education that you get, whether you're an employee or whether you just go look at the website, it's good. It's wise to be smart about how to use money, how to save and how to spend.
Yeah, and I know you take care of a lot of people. I want to talk about this a little bit before we wrap up with you here, because me personally, sometimes you get stuck with an institution like a big bank or whatever, and you get tired of the fees and you get tired, I'm telling you about my HELOC, and it's been so personal. I've had real interaction with people. It's been awesome. You go to some of these big banks and you're just a number. You're a number on an Excel sheet. That's it. But you've got your company, your automatic withdrawals, direct deposits. You have all this stuff, and you feel like you're just tied to that organization because to unwind all of that, you're nervous about missing a payment or losing a check or things along those lines. So that fear kind of, debilitates you a little bit in making that change. You guys go out of your way to make that as seamless as possible.
Yeah, we want to help you out. And it's funny that the picture that you just described, Scotty, where people they'll put up with the pain.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the cost is, they'll put up with the pain. And I'm like, why would you do that? That's your money. If there's unnecessary fees or if there's poor service or poor locations or there's maybe some misplaced trust, whatever that issue is, it's funny how many people will just put up with it rather than take a few minutes to say, let me switch over my direct deposit. Let me work out my bill pay. Let me do it better. We want to see you happy. We want to see you thrive, not just put up with stuff. And so if you're having problems with your financial institution and things aren't going well, come on in. We'll help you out. We'll help you work through a plan where you can switch that stuff over. Your direct deposit is easy. Your bill pay is easy. We've got a great online and mobile banking platform that's really easy to navigate. And, Hans was talking about CardGuard. There's just awesome tools that will help you. So come on in, we'll help you do that.
Let's do it. Go to AmericaFirst.com. That's AmericaFirst.com. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Looking for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah. We've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Nominate the youth sports volunteer for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday afternoon. JJ and Alex will announce the winner. Your chance to celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Mills. All right. Let's go out to the phones and welcome in BYU Cougar insider Mitch Harper at KSLSports.com. The countdown is complete. We know who Mitch believes is the best player to ever play football at BYU. But the top 25 isn't without a little bit of controversy. How was the pushback on this one, Mitch?
There has been some pushback. I think that some people felt that Robbie Bosco was a little bit too low. Maybe Puka Nacua was too high. Some even argue that Jaron Hall maybe doesn't warrant being in the top 25. So there's good debate. I think one thing, though, is that when it comes to the top players in BYU history, the top three are pretty much set.
Yeah.
These things are kind of debatable, and maybe there's a case with McMahon and Detmer, but, Detmer, McMahon, Young, that's the top three, and I think all Cougar fans kind of can agree with that one.
Ty Detmer, number 1, Jim McMahon, number 2, Steve Young, number 3. I think everybody's on board with Ty Detmer, number 1. I don't think you're going to get any pushback on that. Heisman Trophy, all kinds of records. Like, there's no issue there. How hard was it between number 2 and number 3, between McMahon and Young? Because I've seen people flip-flop on that.
Well, I'll admit I was kind of torn at 1 and 2. With
really
Detmer McMahon, yes, because I feel like McMahon, he had like the prototypical quarterback size. He almost like reinvented the position for college quarterbacks with 75 NCAA records. And Ty Detmer, does he get the Heisman without McMahon kind of setting up the runway? But there were even quarterbacks before McMahon. I ultimately went with Detmer because the Heisman, because of all the stats, and also because he delivered the greatest win, I think still to this day, in BYU football history. And he played tough schedules too. He played, Florida State, Texas A&M, played Iowa when they were a top 10 team in a bowl game. And, so Ty played some difficult schedules during his time at BYU. So I ultimately went with Detmer. But I do feel like there was a more debate between him and McMahon. That was one of the toughest, honestly, rankings that I had put together because I started to piece this together in December, and then I kind of shelved it away, in like February after the signing day, and there was a little bit of slow period in basketball season. And then once, Kevin Young was finalized with BYU Hoops, I really kind of drilled down the rankings again and touched on it again. And that's where, there was a real debate for me, but I ultimately went with Detmer at 1, and I feel pretty good about it. I do think a lot of Cougar fans would agree with that as well.
I'm just curious, and I don't know if you've done an accounting on this, but how many of the players off that 1996 team made your top 100? Because I got to imagine it's littered with that team.
Yes, there is I had that number. I believe it was 12, I believe, because even guys like Larry Moore, who was outstanding as a center. He was in, that first installment a few weeks back. Players like that were, I think, all-timers in BYU history. That 1996 team was loaded with talent. And, there was also players in the, from the Crowan to Bronco Mendenhall transition that fill a lot of these rankings too. And it's no coincidence that BYU had a stretch there from 2006 to 2009 that is a 4-year run that stacks up with anyone in BYU's history. And as the years continue to go by, it's now 15 years since that 2009 group with Max Hall, and I think there's an even greater appreciation for what that team did because annual 10, 11-win seasons just don't happen. I think in the moment, people were frustrated because they never cracked through, went to the BCS, but kind of in retrospect, you kind of admire what that team, that group did for that run because it's very difficult to win that many ball games in that many consecutive years.
All right. I do, and I love you, Mitch, and I respect the hell out of you. And Hans and I take beatings on top 60 and 60. So I'm going to challenge you a little bit on this one.
Okay.
You said you did get a little pushback on Puka Nacua.
Yes.
Puka only played 2 years at BYU, about a combined 1,400 yards in those 2 seasons and 11 touchdowns. Now, granted, those are the combined numbers for those 2 seasons. We've seen him blow up and be awesome in the NFL. Do you worry there might have been a little bit of recency NFL bias with him being at 15?
I feel strongly that he's one of the best talents to ever come through the program. Even Kalani Sitake said during his final year after that Boise State win, Puka Nacua is one of the best players in college football. And we know Kalani, and you guys know him as well as anyone like me. Kalani never makes those sort of statements publicly about a player. That was Puka's talent. I remember in like January 2018, before he even was still an Orem High, recruit, and he was committed at the time to USC. Him and Zach Wilson were doing some workouts, and you could just see the talent there. I mean, and he's a combination of he's just a sheer freak of talent. And I think that as the years will continue to go by, when we put together these greatest player lists, you're going to factor in more with guys that are 1- and 2-year players because of the portal era and players just, moving on quicker than ever before. Gone will be the days of just, consistent 4-year guys. And that was another thing I thought of in putting together this list, with someone like a Ty Detmer at number 1, coming off of junior year as a Heisman. If there was a portal back then in NIL, I wonder if like a Ty Detmer would still be viewed as a BYU legend because he could have made a killing in NIL coming back to his senior year as a Heisman Trophy winner because he knew that he wasn't going to be a highly rated NFL draft pick. But Puka, I think, is someone that he made a case, I think, in his brief time at BYU as one of the best receivers ever in program history because anytime he touched the ball, you thought it was going to be a touchdown. And there's not many players at BYU that had that sort of ability. Now, his availability was limited, but his talent was undeniable the moment he arrived on campus. And it was kind of almost admiring the freaky athleticism paired up with his impact that he always had when he was in games.
Okay, let's go through this really quick. And I think I've got a couple of these. So Mo Elowanibi was your highest-rated offensive lineman?
Yes. Well, and that was tough because John Tate, I think he was one spot below. And John Tate, there was a real case that there probably could have been a case where John Tate should have been that guy. But Elowanibi getting the Outland Trophy, and I know that the Outland Trophy back then was maybe a little more, having the right media people that know your program and can vouch for you, and they're on the selection committee, and they can really vouch for that individual player. And BYU back then had a brand, and Elowanibi stepped in that 1 year in '89 and protected for an offensive line that shielded Ty Detmer. That helped his cause. But I think being the Outland Trophy winner helps those efforts to be in a conversation to be among the best.
Okay, so Jason Buck, your highest-rated defensive line, is that right?
Yes, okay. And that also plays a role with production, with sacks, and also getting a national award as well.
Okay, linebacker, who was your highest-rated linebacker?
Van Noy?
Highest-rated, Kyle Van Noy.
Okay. Highest-rated DB?
I'd have to think about that real quick and look at my list.
Luke Staley was your highest running back, right?
Yes, Luke Staley was highest rated running back at number 5.
The wide receiver was Puka, right?
Austin Collie.
Oh, Austin was above. Okay, Austin was above him. And then who was the highest rated tight end that you had?
Gordon Hudson.
All right. All we need is the DB.
DB, I believe it was. Gosh, I got to pull up the list. I believe it was outside the top 25.
Yeah, it's not on the top 25 here.
I just don't have the list right in front of me. I believe Derwin Gray was right there near the.
Would you put Kyle Morrell?
Oh, Kyle Morrell, he was at 21, and he was a safety.
Yeah.
Probably not a cornerback.
Would you put him as a defensive back, Hans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So there you go.
Kyle Morrell definitely, and he was All-American. He had
the most one of the most signature plays in BYU history.
And he was on that Bob Hope All-American special back in the 80s when that was a thing in, the Christmas time. And, Kyle Morrell was an incredible player. I just think of him more as a safety. Came to BYU as a quarterback and then instantly switched over. But, yeah, he's the highest-rated DB.
So
it's awesome.
I think this is an interesting one, too. I want to get your thoughts on this because this was the era that I kind of broke into sports radio in Utah and covered him really closely and really admired his perseverance because he dealt with Croton and took a lot of heat for Croton and then ended up with, one of the most signature plays. And we talk about signature plays, Beck to Harline against the University of Utah. So John Beck comes in at number 10. He's ahead of Austin Collie. He's ahead of Taysom Hill. He's ahead of Robbie Bosco, who won a national championship. Talk about him being on the top 10. It seems to me at first glance a little high, but then you look at the journey and what he ended up doing at BYU and what he led them through in some ugly moments to a point where they're nationally ranked when he leaves. I don't have much of an issue with it. I like it.
He finished third in passing yards all time at BYU, 10,000 plus in his BYU career. And you're right, he did face a lot of adversity dealing with, the ups and downs of the Gary Croton era. But credit to Croton, despite the headaches that program had at that time, he always believed in John Beck. There was a feeling where maybe Matt Berry was the guy or there was other prospects. But, Croton always kind of leaned into John Beck. In that 2004 season, he dealt with some injuries, including that Notre Dame game. But, he was exceptional. You kind of saw the connection there with him and Todd Watkins, Curtis Brown, Austin Collie. I mean, that was a pretty good team that had a lot of NFL talent and his arm strength, too. I remember there was that throw. Yeah. I believe it was against, it was in 2003. He had like a 70-yard pass, and it kind of made the rounds in the NFL draft circuit when he was going through the process in 2007. But he had a cannon for an arm, too. And also he faced tough schedules. I mean, that 2004 schedule is one of the toughest schedules in BYU history. They faced 3 undefeated teams with USC, Boise State, and Utah. And with all the backdrop that was in that program at the time with off-the-field national scandals, I think people forget that. I mean, it was causing a lot of, outside-the-line ESPN-type headlines back then. And, through it all, John Beck, persevered and got BYU back to where they were in the national conversation with that 2006 team. And that was a big moment because, in 2005, they started out 1-3 and they lost to San Diego State. And I think at that time, BYU fans were ready to pull the plug on Bronco then, but they stayed consistent and back through it all, got BYU in a place where they felt like they kind of looked like themselves once again. So, it could be a little bit of that journey component as you noted, but also the stats, the numbers, some of the wins too. I mean, he's got a win over, Utah in 2006 and Notre Dame in 2004. John Beck did a really good job at BYU. I think he warrants being in that top 10.
Is Justin Inna the only current BYU coach that made the list?
Gennaro Guilford did as well, too. He's also on the list as a cornerback. But, yes, those two made the top 100.
Was it hard not to put Kalani on there?
Just for fun?
Yeah, for fun. I mean, maybe you could give the token 100. I mean, in terms of, connection. I mean, I think of that 2000 team, and obviously you were part of that, Hans. And, as far as a leader goes, I remember, you guys had the mustaches at that watermelon bus. Oh, yeah. Kalani, Satema Nali. They're bringing back the mustaches for the 1984 team, for good luck vibes. But Kalani, I think he knew his role on the team. And I think he would even admit that he wasn't, a top 100 guy by any stretch, but he had a love for BYU, and he just embraced his role and wanted to be a part of it and help the team win and sacrificed for others. I mean, he was in a backfield with, Ronnie Jenkins in 1998 and, Luke Staley in 99 and 2000. So Fahu Tahi was in there. He didn't crack the top 100, but he was part of some good running back stables. Jamal Willis when he first arrived in the program. So, Kalani sacrificed a lot, and I think there's a lot to be said, too, about players like that helped kind of set the table for a lot of these top 100 players that we talked about every single week.
No doubt in my mind, Zach Wilson needs to be on the list. 18 does seem a bit high for him. Obviously, tremendous 2020 season. But what about Zach made you propel him into the top 20?
The sheer dominance of the 2020 season, and I know that schedule was brutal. I mean, it was, and they cobbled it together, and the opponents were terrible, but they dominated those teams like they were far inferior. And they always, despite being a huge favorite every single week, for the most part, except for UTSA and Coastal, they showed up and they played well. I thought Zach was a very good quarterback for BYU. Excellent. I mean, his arm talent. He took over the program too in a place where you could have argued it was maybe in a lower place offensively than what John Beck inherited during those Croton years. That 2017 team before Zach arrived, that was one of the worst offenses I've ever seen BYU assemble. I think in my life, I've never seen a worse BYU offense in that 2017 group. And so he started from rock bottom, and, he was key in building it back up. And, you think of the long-term impact that 2020 team has had, when it comes to realignment, you don't factor in on-field performance. It's a lot more political than things like that. But it definitely didn't hurt the cause when the Big 12 came calling in 2021 that BYU showed they were capable of being a winning team again, because up until that 2020 season, it was pretty mediocre for BYU for a handful of years. And that really kind of injected some life into BYU football, that 2020 campaign. And a lot of that was because of the talent of Zach Wilson. So, and I just think that he was another guy that the moment he stepped foot on campus, the lights weren't too big. I mean, I remember that spring camp, his first practice, he looked like the best quarterback in practice then. And Tanner Ming was hurt at that time, but it was pretty clear that Zach Wilson was going to be pretty good. It was just a matter of when was he actually going to be inserted. And, they were very delicate and put him in that Hawaii game in 2018 to start, and he was excellent and, got BYU a, 3-touchdown win against a Hawaii program that, gave BYU some battles that previous year. So I think Zach is among the greats in BYU history, but it's noteworthy, too, about how many quarterbacks are still in front of him on this list. 17 total quarterbacks made it in this top 100, and it's no surprise that BYU over the last 50 or so years has been one of the winningest teams because they've always got it right more times than not at quarterback. And when you circle it to, this year, I think that's why so many people are kind of feeling very low projections and down and out on BYU, because there are not many years where BYU has just had such a unknown at quarterback, because this list shows you for the last 40, 50 years, they've always had a guy waiting in the wings ready to step up and be a star at that position. And this year, that's just definitely not the case, but I'm curious to see if anyone can, make a case to maybe rewrite this list in years to come.
Give me 5 or 6 names of the most difficult guys to leave off the top 100.
I think it was some of those players that were really difficult. I left off Byron Frisch. That was tough. In some ways, I kind of want to go to a top 200 because then I feel like you can get the complete best of the best. But there were some names like Brett Kiesel left off. Those were some difficult ones. I'm pointing to the D-line because those are guys that there has been others too that were very difficult to lead off, some offensive linemen in the past that, interior offensive line guys. But I think that, for the most part, I feel like this was the true, best of the best. And, I try to also pay a little bit of respect to those early years in BYU, and that was more, who was the first All-American, things like that played a role. Very difficult to really kind of compare. But I did want to, try to embrace all 100 years of BYU when, in many respects, you could just kind of focus on the last 50 years or so since Lavelle took over, and that's really kind of BYU football as our listeners, truly know it. But, because of adding in some players from the 60s, 50s, 20s, even 30s, it squeezed out a few players that are pretty big names that ultimately got on the outside looking in.
House settlement will allow teams essentially to set a $20 million pay limit. How close can BYU get to that? Is it something that's conceivable for them?
Well, the big question that I think that they could, and I'm really curious to figure out what if that amount applies when it comes to the past payments too, dating back to athletes to 2016. Are they having to pay the same amount that their Big 12 peers are paying? Because BYU was not in the Power Five at that time. So for them and UCF and Houston, their Big 12 peers, do they have to pay that same rate? They weren't in Power Conference living at that time. So that's something I'm really trying to dig in and get more intel on because, that could be a little bit lighter financial lift going forward on what those payments end up being for BYU athletes dating back to 2016. But I one thing that's been clear from BYU with Tom Holmoe as the athletic director is that he wants to put BYU sports on the biggest stages. And you look at the recent move of Kevin Young in basketball, they want to be on the biggest stages. And if it means being a team and a university that's paying $20 million in revenue sharing back to their athletes, they've got to do that and to be a healthy partner in the Big 12. And, BYU is very fortunate to be in the predicament that they're in. The timing worked out brilliantly to where they land in a power conference in a Big 12, which by all accounts seems pretty healthy right now going forward in the future of this. So I think that, BYU is going to have to, and I think, it's a different shift, but they've always wanted to be at the highest levels of college sports. And now it's just a matter of paying up. And I think that to this point, they're showing more commitment in sports like basketball. I got to imagine they would, if continuing to be a strong member of the Big 12, they'd want to do that as well.
Well, Mitch, we know how much fun and how aggravating and how much anger you get back doing List Radio. We got 60 and 60 starting up here in a couple of weeks. You're going to have a ballot in your mailbox here pretty soon, so get ready to fill that bad boy out. Have fun with that. And but we appreciate you coming on, talking about it, and sticking up for your picks. We appreciate it. We respect the hell out of you, man.
Thanks, guys. I always appreciate that. I'm looking forward to 60 and 60. I've been putting together my kind of rough draft on and doing a lot of research on it, so I can't wait to get that thing pieced together.
Thanks, Mitch.
You're the best.
You bet, guys.
There he is, Mitch Harper, KSLSports.com, BYU Insider. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The wheel is loaded, and it's time to talk some sports. This is Sports Roulette with Hans Scotty on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for another edition of Sports Roulette. We take some of the big storylines, put on a roulette wheel, we spin it. Wherever that ball lands is what we end up talking about. So with that, Christian, who's hanging out, filling in for vacationing Lloyd Cole, kind enough to fire up that wheel. Let's do it, Christian.
The rivalry continues.
So I'm going to take a bit of a different approach on this topic because there's a lot of good and a lot of bad that's being said and done with Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
There's a lot of good and a lot of bad. Ultimately, for the most part, every time her name is mentioned, it's good.
Yeah.
Not that it's a positive thing that's talked about for her, but ultimately, every time her name is mentioned, it's good because it generates interest and it generates popularity and it keeps her name present.
Yeah.
And it keeps the WNBA present.
Yes.
Now, there have been some conversations out there that I think are damaging and actually an attack and maybe more harmful than they are good. But what Angel Reese did today, actually last night after her win, a lot of people are looking at it like, oh, she's a hater. Oh, she's attacking what's good with the WNBA. Oh, she this is so lowbrow and such a bad look and such an attack. I disagree with all of that. You want to build that rivalry between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark as big as you possibly can. So when they play on June 2nd, the world is watching.
Yep.
Now, when they play on June 2nd, they better be highlighted, and they better play good, and it better be close, and it better look like good basketball, and it better not be slow and boring and mundane and a blowout and all those things. What you hope for is when Angel Reese sends out a tweet that says, and I'm going to read it verbatim, and that's on getting a win in a packed area, not just because of one player on our charter flight, #Skytown. Ooh. Now, that's what she tweeted. Now, what she meant to tweet was essentially, hey, we just got a big win. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And we did it in a packed arena. And it wasn't just because of one player on our charter flight.
Yeah.
Now, she's since deleted that tweet. But she fired that tweet out after her win last night against Brianna Stewart and the New York Liberty, which was a very good win because New York had not lost to that point, and so she's feeling pretty good about it. And she had 13 points and 9 rebounds and was feeling really good about it. And the first thing she did when she was done with that game was put Caitlin Clark in her mouth and fire that tweet out.
Yeah.
And people are upset about it. They're like, oh, you're a hater. Oh, this, because you never could be Caitlin. Oh, you're only known because of Caitlin. Look, I'm not on that wagon. I'm on the wagon of, hey, Angel, do whatever you can to make this a Larry Bird Magic Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what brought the NBA to the forefront. That's what really blew the doors
100%.
Off publicity and
Last
coverage
year.
and interest. And it was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and this ultimate rivalry that was bitter but still exciting. And if that's Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, make it.
NBA was tape delaying games, NBA Finals games before Magic and Bird.
Right.
Or not Magic, or not before, Magic and Bird, excuse me. So, yeah, those two elevated the game. That rivalry, that Celtics-Lakers elevated the game. The NBA had to have it. People forget how much of a non-entity the NBA was before those two.
Yep. And the WNBA hasn't had that.
No.
But this could be that was one of the biggest sports stories in history.
Yeah.
This could be amazing for WNBA. But I'm seeing people beat down at Angel Reese for the tweet. And she deleted it because she was feeling so beat down. Leave that up like a badge of honor and
own it.
Build it.
Yeah.
How do you think Conor McGregor became great? How do you think the guys that got the shot at McGregor's title got the shot? They got it with big mouths.
Yep.
How did Larry Bird and Magic Johnson turn into Larry Bird and Magic Johnson? They were vocal. They were irritants.
And they hated each other.
They hated each other.
Yeah, everybody knew they hated each other.
If those two had Twitter, if we had a history on their Twitter account, imagine what they did.
Oh, boy.
What, all of a sudden Angel Reese can't talk crap because she's a beautiful woman? All of a sudden, Caitlin Clark can't talk crap because she's a beautiful woman and we expect more. Bull crap. This is high-level sports. Go at each other.
Yeah, do it. It's good for the sport.
Make it a build event that June 2nd, we have to watch you.
Frankly, even if you just manufacture it a little bit.
That's what I'm talking about. Yet, she gets beat down to the point she takes the tweet down. Don't take that tweet down.
Yep.
You maybe fix some spelling and put it right back up.
Yep.
Like, fix it so it's even a little bit more, like, direct and manageable and it has more impact and meaning.
Don't you want to watch when Draymond Green and Rudy Gobert are playing against each other?
Absolutely.
Because they hate each other.
Absolutely.
And it's personal between the two of them. And I don't even think it's personal between Angel and Caitlin, but you can make it out to be personal. because it's good for the sport.
But have you seen the beatdown that Angel Reese is taking?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Oh, this is so below you, and oh, how dare you? Oh, you are only known because of her. Oh, okay, fine. Let the noise be the noise, Angel. Let the noise be the noise, Caitlin. But step it up another notch.
Yeah.
If I'm Caitlin, I fire a tweet back.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, by the way, how was that charter
Hey,
flight?
by the way, thank you for you. Why don't you say you're welcome?
Yeah.
How about that?
How was that charter flight,
Yeah.
Angel?
Yeah.
Like, fire back, make it individual, make it about you so you make people watch on June 2nd.
Yep.
That's what the WNBA needs. It doesn't need a bunch of nastiness, backbiting, and what I'm seeing right now with WNBA players. Hey, if you're not Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, just play basketball.
Yeah. Yep.
If you weren't Conor McGregor and you didn't have the fire in that moment, even though I wouldn't even put him in the top 20 of my all-time favorite mixed martial arts fighters, not even in the top 20. But why was he the most paid? Because he was the most verbally brilliant.
Yep. Yep.
It's the same reason that Chael Sonnen just got admitted into the UFC Hall of Fame, because he was a verbalist.
Yeah.
He was the best. He was a linguist. When it came to attacking his opponent, he could do it verbally way better than he could do it physically.
I mean, let's be honest. Muhammad Ali, great boxer.
Incredible. Billing the fight.
Yep.
Nobody did it better.
Yeah.
So let him do it.
And elevated the sport because of it. You keep your mouth shut. You just do your job. Okay, you'll be known as a good boxer or a good player. But what really takes it to the next level is when you bring the self-promotion. And I get it. There's always a little bit of backlash from that. And it can backfire on you. But it can also make you a whole lot of money along the way.
But what's so funny is watching turds get mad. Angel, you wish you had half the success at Caitlin Clark. She did have half.
Yeah, she
She's
won
got
a championship.
More than half the success.
Yeah, Caitlin doesn't have a title.
She's got a stinking title.
Yeah.
And when those two play, it's going to be electric. Even though they don't, it's not like they butt heads that often.
No.
But when Caitlin makes a run into the lane and Angel Reese comes with a hard foul, I don't want to hear this, you're hurting your best asset. No. Angel's making sure that her name has value.
Are you, I know you're taking a little bit of break from Caitlin after the 0-5 start.
Yeah, I'll watch this one.
But yeah, same here. I'll watch that
I'll watch this one.
Yep.
Because Angel Reese fascinates me as much as Caitlin Clark.
All right, 2:50. We'll wrap this thing up. Get you ready for your holiday weekend. JJ and Alex coming up next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Number one. Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you. Let 'em see we're crazy.
All right, Hans, you ready for a good 3-day weekend? I'm going to miss you, buddy.
I'm ready. I am going to do some cooking on Monday. I guess we got bad weather tomorrow, but Sunday and Monday.
Sunday, Monday sure could be great. Yeah.
So we'll roll out the barbecue. I'm going to do a lot of barbecue, and I think I'm just going to get the patio furniture out.
Yeah, let's go.
And catch a few rays, play some yard games with the kids. Probably a little croquet. You know I love croquet.
I forgot about you.
I love croquet. We do a lot of croquet.
That's fascinating to me.
I've now gone through 3 croquet sets.
Really?
Yeah. If anybody has a suggestion on a nice croquet set that doesn't break when you've got a bunch of 6'5" Neanderthals swinging at these balls on the ground.
I don't think they're built for the way you guys probably play croquet.
Oh, man, we beat the heck out of it. There's no question. But I cannot wait for a little good family time, beautiful weather. And by the way, Memorial Day is one of my favorites because our family, we roll out the American flags. We tend to do 2 or 3 documentaries watching our whatever war heroes, and we really try to focus on what makes this country great and the sacrifices that were made to make it great.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, wrapping up another edition of the show. Dave's hanging out with us here in studio, America First Credit Union. Dave, we can't thank you enough, man. It's been so much fun chatting with you today.
It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. You guys are a lot of fun, and you do a lot of great. I appreciate all the topics and things that you discuss and bring to your viewers and listeners. So it's awesome.
Well, it was awesome to see Scotty go through a process just during the show.
Yeah.
And be able to get the things he needed done to get a new roof on the house.
Well, I love stories like that, and they happen all the time where people just have a good experience. So it's a pleasure to serve you, Scotty.
Doing it in real time, man. It was crazy. I wasn't, I was not trying to distract the show or anything like that, but I kept getting phone calls and being like, hey, we're done, we're good, and you're approved, and we'll have closing here in about a week, and off you go. It's like, oh, okay, here we go.
Well, it's a testament to your mad multitasking skills.
Yeah.
And his credit score.
Right?
Wink,
Yeah.
wink.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't get that kind of thing done that quick. But I do want to give a shout out to this 0.25% off a HELOC.
Mm-hmm.
Now through
August 31st. Yeah. 0.25, it seems like a small number, but it's impactful when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever that is. It's a big deal. Yeah, it's significant savings.
So take advantage of that if you do need a loan. And if you're more into investing, you can do those things with great CD options and getting your money really working for you at America First Credit Union as well. Yeah,
it's smart to invest and to look and to save. And so, we want everybody to have that philosophy. How do we help your money work for you?
And then we always have perks when we're with America First Credit Union. We can even get discounts if we're headed out to water parks.
Yeah, as we're celebrating the summer, Hans, summertime's always a great time to be able to go and get in the water. And so Splash Summit down in Utah County, when you use your America First debit card or credit card, you can get some great discounts. Right now, they have some awesome deals. Sorry, we have some awesome deals, but normally to get in for a day, it's $29.99, and we're going to give you $10 off.
Woo.
Sorry, $27.99. So we're going to give you $10 off, $17.99.
That's a great discount.
Wow, that's great. When you have a whole family, that adds up real quick.
Oh, it does, yeah. And they sell annual passes. They're normally $59.99. You can get one for $39.99. So $20 off just for using your America First Visa or America First debit card.
Let's go. So many great opportunities, so many great perks. You incentivize it. You're supporting so many teams up and down the Wasatch Front. From the Jazz to your local high school, you guys just do it all, man. It's so cool to see.
It's a pleasure and an honor to work for an organization like America First.
I bet.
Just all the good that we do, and it's a pleasure to be on the show with you guys. And
it's fun, always fun, Dave.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah, we love you.
Call me if you have issues with those ribs. I got your back.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend is a good time to get out and do some cooking. So I'll take your smoking tips and take it to heart.
Let's do it. All right. Hope you guys have a great weekend. JJ and Alex next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.